Smith Center High School Student Council welcomes you to the 2025 Homecoming Ceremony. I am Alexis Kelch, Student Council President.
I am Zoe Nixon, Student Council Vice President.
Would you please rise and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. We would like to take a moment to recognize Mrs. Brashears, who graciously agreed to offer her talents, along with the talents of our students, to do the decorations on stage, as well as the programs. You guys did an amazing job. Thank you also to Cheryl Sass and Holly Nixon for helping with the Homecoming Memory Board. If you would like to take a stroll down memory lane, take a look at all the pictures on your way out. Thank you to all of you.
At this time, we would like to introduce to you the Royal Court. The crown bearer and robe bearer for today's ceremony are Cedric Stansberry, son of Sean and Ellie Stansberry, and Aletta Seaman, daughter of Matt and Cassie Seaman. Both are kindergarten students at Smith Center Elementary.
We would now like to introduce to you the 2025 homecoming candidates. Jerica Ochoa, daughter of Stephanie and Matt Watt, and Brant Wilson, son of Tim and Bree Wilson.
Nevaeh Rohan is the granddaughter of Rick and Rhonda Bargeman, and Reed Doan, son of Rodney and Lindsay Doan.
Lily Highland is the daughter of Mike and Amber Highland, and Parker Hutchinson, son of Brock and Julie Hutchinson.
Emily Pruden is the daughter of Robert and Sarah Pruden, and Carson Montgomery, grandson of Ray and Jean Montgomery.
The Chanticleers will now sing Belong Together under the direction of Bryce Hackler.
is now our pleasure to introduce to you Carrie Bimes and John Betts. Carrie is a proud 1995 graduate of Smith Center High School. Carrie is the daughter of late Roger Barta, beloved longtime teacher and coach at SCHS, and Pam Barta, who served the community through her work at Smith County State Bank and later as the Economic Development Director for Smith County. After graduating from Smith Center, Carrie attended Kansas State University, where she majored in secondary education and English. She went on to earn her master's degree in human resources. For 15 years, Carrie shared her love of learning as a middle school language arts teacher at Andover Middle School, taking a couple of breaks along the way to stay home with her young children. Today, she serves as the Director of Human Resources at Farha Roofing. Carrie and her husband, Mitch, make their home in Wichita, Kansas, where they are raising their 6 children, ranging from age 5 to 22. She enjoys following her children's activities, traveling, and attending live concerts and sporting events. But the Smith Center Redmond football team will always be earnest and dearest to her heart.
John Betts is a 1993 graduate of Smith Center High School. John is the publisher of the Kansas Pregame High School Sports Preview magazines, which he started 20 years ago with the first annual Kansas Pregame High School Football Preview. After selling his 2 weekly newspapers in Lincoln and Chapman, Kansas 8 years ago, Betts expanded his operation into other sports with winter and spring issues, radio appearances, a website, and social media coverage. Married to his wife, Bree McReynolds Betts, a native of Lincoln, Kansas, for 22 years. Betts and his wife have one daughter, Salone, an 8th grader at Lincoln Junior Senior High School. Let's give Carrie and John a big Redmond welcome.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you for inviting both John and I to speak at your homecoming activities, and congratulations to candidates. We were told that this year's theme for homecoming is memory lane, and so it really does make sense why they asked us, since we were both born in the 1900s. Back in our day, we didn't have cell phones or Life 360. Really, my parents' only way of keeping track of where I was by watching how many times we had looped the corner while dragging Maine. And before school, we didn't have TikTok to scroll through or snap each other. We walked laps around the building. It was our way of social networking. Really, the internet was a new thing back then, and we learned how to type on actual typewriters.
So if you kids don't know, a typewriter is like a computer that you put paper in. But in all seriousness, I gave Mr. Lynn a hard time, and I've actually apologized to him many times, because it turns out that his class was literally the most important class I ever took in my life. There is never a day that goes by that I don't type thousands or hundreds, potentially thousands of words.
And then there's the fashion and the style of the 90s. Well, let's just say I could get away with saying I was at least 5'5" on the basketball roster just because of the 2 inches I gained from my permed bangs.
And if you look at the 1993 composite photo, you're going to see my beautiful flowing mullet.
I'm sure there's so many things that haven't changed over the last 30 years, though. When I was in high school, I was in practically every activity. Volleyball, basketball, track. That one was against my wishes, though. I did not want to do that. Ks, FHA, drama, NHS, you name it, I was in it. Really, if for no other reason, out of necessity. If you don't do it, who else will, right? I think it was less about me being ambitious and more about the fact that saying no isn't an option. Smith Center taught me, though, that you don't have to choose. You can be an athlete, a leader, a friend, a performer, all at once. And that's just one of the things that makes this place so special. So my advice would be involved, make the most of your time and opportunity here. You'll never regret it.
And that's a really good point, because I didn't do as many activities. I was focused on football, the weight room, and while I did FFA and Scholars Bowl, where our team name was below average, and I did vocal, I do deeply regret that I didn't do more activities. Now, I worked at the old Matz and Bogart's grocery store, and I worked 25 hours a week, even in season. So it's not like I was lazy, but I had to have gas money to pay for all those loops that I was taking my car around cruising.
Of course, we have to mention some of the teachers, and we're so old that you guys might not remember some of these names, but your parents and the other teachers will for sure. Mr. E, one of my favorites, once told me in his unforgettable Greek accent that I will butcher here, but said, "Carrie, you are so stupid, so stupid." Just kept walking around the classroom. "You're so stupid," when I blew up a light bulb in his class. Fair, right? And Mr. O'Rourke, one time I fell asleep in his class and he came up behind me and slammed a textbook right down by my head. I nearly jumped out of my jeans. I said, "Mr. O'Rourke, I was just so exhausted. We didn't get home from a game the night before until midnight." He couldn't have cared less. He looked at me and said, "What were you doing from 12 to 8? And he had a point. Sorry. Needless to say, and I know Mr. Wick is still here, so please be quiet, Mr. Wick, but with my record in science and math, I ended up taking the English route as a teacher myself, and that was partly because of the amazing English teachers that I had here. Barb, Becky, Stolt, they were so iconic, they just went by one name.
They were so influential in my young life that I actually pursued a English degree and a career in publishing. And I'm guessing at the time, nobody would have ever imagined that I would have done something that involved me putting together a sentence successfully on a regular basis.
Now, there were a few things that we did back in the day, speaking of memory lane, that I'm sorry to say I've learned I didn't really need to succeed in life. I'm probably not going to gain many popularity points here with your teachers, but honestly, I've learned that very few people in the professional world still know the difference between there, and there, or even two, and two. Learn that one anyway.
And really, in all seriousness, on social media, we take so many shortcuts. I really encourage you to learn some of those rules and use them properly, because there's a lot of employers out there that are potentially looking at your social media, and knowing those things is actually really a valuable asset to you. So be careful with that social media presence and the way that you nurture that, because it can last forever, and it can influence so many things that you do.
All that to be said, we did survive it, and if there are things that you feel like your teachers or parents are teaching you right now that seem silly, you'll survive that too. You're going to take the lessons that you're learning here in your high school years, and those lessons will carry on forever with you to help you find success in life, just like it has for so many of our classmates and friends. Within our class alone, we've had teachers, doctors, lawyers, business owners, so many people of great character and faith. We even had an NFL football player. Honestly, no dream is too big. Some of those classmates and friends stayed right here in this community and continue to do great things and be a huge part of what makes this town so special. And by the way, if one of those people are your parents, come see me and I'll share some stories with you. And then some of them, like John and myself, moved away, but we always know that Smith Center is home. There really is no place like this.
There's really not a day that goes by that I don't think about something that I learned in Smith Center, Kansas. The positive experiences that I had growing up here and all the great influences in my life. What an incredibly caring community, and also something that's kind of unique is there's really a community-wide standard of excellence, and it's not just about athletics, it's in many of the things that we do, whether it just be our day-to-day work, being a parent, being a spouse, all those kind of things. It seems like we take a great deal of pride here in Smith Center on those things.
So a week ago, my own daughter was up for homecoming at her school, and my brother's first words to her in our family group chat were, "Congratulations, but don't distract those football boys." And it reminded me of when I was in high school, and I had probably just gotten my heart broken by some boy, and I was downstairs in my room crying and carrying on like teenage girls due, and my dad finally came downstairs and was like, "What is going on here?" And he let me carry on for a while and get it all out, and he listened. He was a great listener. But finally he said, "Well, you know, football season's coming up, and he really can't be distracted. We got a lot of work to do this season."
And just to clarify, I was not that boy. When I was first asked to speak, my thought was, I don't want to become part of the homecoming distraction that Coach Barta always warned us about. He always talked about homecoming being for the girls and the importance of staying focused on game day and things like that. But it did make me think of a lot of stories that came flooding back. Is Tim Wilson in here? So when I was a freshman and Tim was a senior, we played a playoff game at Sublette, and we stayed overnight in Garden City. And we got up in the morning of game day, because I think we must have played it on a Saturday because it was such a long trip. And the breakfast that we had did not set well with anybody. We went down to Sublette, we went out on the field, we played the first half, and we played horrible. I shouldn't say we, because I was standing on the sidelines, but we played horrible. And we went in at halftime, and who can tell me what Coach Barta's favorite play is? Next one, 16. So Coach Barta's looking at the board, and he's talking about what we can do, and he says, he always kind of made these lists. Well, I think we can run 16. I think we can run 12 wedge. I think we can run trap. And Coach Barta was the calmest guy. He was he's just always very nurturing and just rarely ever got fired up. But somebody must have said something about, I don't think we can run 16, because he got very upset, and Tim happened to be sitting right in the front row, and he started beating on his shoulder pads saying, "We will run 16. We will run 16. We exploded out of the locker room, actually so fast that I fell down. One of my friends had to pick me up. Scored 40 points in the third quarter, whatever it was, and we come back in, we're doing our circle up, and Coach Barta's handing out compliments and things that we did positively, and then he looks at Tim and he says, "Tim, I think I'm going to need to sue your parents because I broke my hand on your shoulder pads." But in all seriousness, Coach Barta was such an incredible mentor, and it's a big part of the reason that I was excited to come here, so that we could memorialize him just one more time and remember what a positive influence he was. Such a calming demeanor, but knew how to strategically use motivation to get the best out of his athletes, and cared so deeply about them. And I also see that in your coaches, and I see that in people like Tim and Mike and Darren, and I think that's another thing that makes this place special to be part of, because being part of the coaching culture here doesn't mean that you feel like you have to chew a kid's butt constantly to get the best out of them.
So as John said, many of you do know the legacy that my dad left behind here. He loved this town. He loved the people of this town and everything it stands for. He believed in all of us, and he knew more than anyone that every person plays a role in creating what we all know as Redmond tradition. Someone special recently shared with my family a picture of the sticker that's now placed on the back of your football helmets, and a TikTok that was created with the comment, "Proud to make additions to the Redmond locker room." The tribute to Coach Barta was special to us. We hope it's special to everyone else. It is, and thank you. Effort, attitude, toughness. It's what we're known for here. It's what this town instills in us. The community, this school, these teachers, coaches, your parents, your friends, your teammates, and even the alumni, we're all in this together, and it's something that will never leave you. Once a Redmond, always a Redmond. Good luck tonight.
Thank you, Carrie and John, for agreeing to speak at our ceremony today and for contributing so much to our community and for your constant support of our school. And now, the moment you have all been waiting for. The 2025 Homecoming King is Brant Wilson.
And the 2025 Homecoming Queen is Lily Highland.
We will now stand as the Chanticleers lead us in the singing the school song, which can be found in your program. At the completion of the song, we invite you all to the four-way stop for our pep rally, along with the football game tonight at 7. Royalty, please remember to stay for pictures, and thank you all for coming.